You know, it's hard for me to believe that it's been just a little over 2 years since I did my first Tech Tuesday, which was also on Sage Intelligence. So I think I've learned a lot. Since then, Sage Intelligence has changed a little bit in the last 2 years, and so we want to show you, you know, some of those things today. I'm starting with the same report that I started with 2 years ago. This is a comparison between actual and budget, variance percent for the current period and year to date. And this is what you get in your financial reports inside of the general ledger module. But what we're finding is that people need information that's a little bit more out of the box, and that's one of the most important things I think Sage Intelligence provides for you. It allows you to present your financial information differently than, you know, just the standard accounts, account groups, etc. It also allows you to format them, you know, in ways that you want. If you wanted to add a logo to your reports, you could certainly do any of those things inside of Sage Intelligence. So I'm just going to close this. We're not going to spend any time on how you get to this. I think everybody's aware of that. You will see my screen. I am using the 2016 version, and this is the 100C desktop. So if my desktop looks a little bit different than yours, that is the reason. So when we want to go in and run a report or create a report in Sage Intelligence, we start here in Sage Intelligence Reporting. That gives us the report viewer and the report manager. The report manager is where you do all your design work. You can also run the reports. The report viewer just allows you to run reports, and but doesn't allow you to do any design work. So if we go into the report manager, it looks like this. 2 years ago, we talked about setting up a folder where you would actually do your design work, and then you might have another folder where you would move into production. So I'm in my development folder, and I have created a template that I'm calling IS, Income Statement, Actual versus Budget. And just to save time, I've already run that template out. When you run out your templates, you get the home page, which gives you some information getting started, you know, frequently asked questions, etc., and then some instructions. And then, so normally what you would end up with is you would start with a blank sheet. Now, one of the new features inside of Sage Intelligence is there are some canned reports that you can just run. So if I want to run something that's similar to what we did inside of the General Ledger module, I might select this income statement, actual versus budget with variance. So if I double-click that, it's going to generate the layout, and it's generated successfully. And as you can see, it looks pretty close to the other information that we looked at. So it still has my accounts, my subtotals by account group, etc. So there's not a whole lot of magic or really nice stuff in this. You got these great big column headings, and then you got some information, and so off you go. So so those are available to you, and they kind of give you an idea as to what you can do inside of Sage Intelligence. But I'm not real keen on them myself, so as you can probably tell. So we're going to start, and I'm going to show you how to actually go in and create a similar report in a couple of different methods. So the first one we're going to do, what you have are lists. Now lists are your rows. So you can do account categories, groups, types, budget codes, main accounts, and roll-up codes. These are the same as what you had when we looked at this the first time. So we're going to do main accounts. I always like to do main accounts if possible. And so that gives every single account that's available. And since we're going to do an income statement, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of all these balance sheet accounts. Now, I will tell you that when I do a balance sheet, I keep the income statement accounts and just roll them up for my current period income number. But if I'm doing an income statement, I don't need those balance sheet accounts, so I just go ahead and get rid of them. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in my account categories. So here I have my main account number, and then here's my description. So I want to make this a little bit wider. And then I have my account category, my account group, my account type, and my cash flow type. Now you have two options here. You could go ahead and delete these columns, or you can leave them and hide them when you do your presentation. I normally just leave these in. Sometimes it helps when you're looking at account categories, how you're grouping things in terms of, do I want to multiply this by -1 to present it or not? So normally I just keep these because it's real easy to hide them. And then I'm going to come over here and I am going to start with my column headings. So I'm going to put, the first thing I want is actual. Then I always leave a blank column just because I like the way it looks better. And then I got budget. And then I have variance. And then I have my variance percent. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my year-to-date numbers. Okay, so, and we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I think you get the idea. Now, and then you can come up here and say this is current period, and this is year-to-date. And you can format that so that those labels stretch across the 4 columns, and so you can pretty all that up. But what we're more concerned about right now is how do I know what that number is? Well, if I come over here to the formulas in my task pane, here's my options. Again, pretty similar to what we had before. Opening balance, closing balance, actual year-to-date, budget year-to-date, current year, current period. Now those are the years. So my current year in our test database is going to be 2020. Your current year is probably 2016, 2015. It's important to remember that it goes based upon your current year and current period in your general ledger options. So if you haven't closed your periods for, it doesn't matter if you're still in December of 2015 or whatever your current period is and current year, that's what's going to be your default when you do your reports in Sage Intelligence. So, so just be aware of that when you get numbers in here, and when you come and you do current year and current period, and you wonder, well, why is that 2015-12? Well, that's because that's what's in your general ledger. So normally what I do is I come over here and I say, I want to know what my company is. I want to know what my current year is. I want to know what my current period is. And I want to know what my, my budget code is. Okay. So my company is, code is YOY, and then my year, I'm going to drag this guy up. So that's 2020. My period is 5, and my budget code that I'm going to use is original. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start filling in my formulas. So I want actual, and then I want budget, and my budget and my variance is going to be actual minus budget. And my variance, I'm going to use the formula that we talked about a while back, I think, and we'll fill that in because if there's an error, I don't want that to show. So I don't want that divide by 0 to show up in my variance. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here for year-to-date. We're going to do actual year-to-date, budget year-to-date, and then my variance is actual year-to-date minus budget year-to-date. So let's get something besides these odd-looking formulas. So if I come up here and click on this right here, this opens up my function. General ledger link is my my account, so my main account number, and we're going to use the absolute, which is the F4 key. So I hit it once, and that says it's always A, always 9. Well, I don't want that. What I want is I want it to always be in column A, and the row changes as I move the formula down. And then my current year. Now, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say I want my current year to always be this, and that allows me to change my current year. And again, that's always going to be that same cell reference. So I just hit F4 once. Current period, I do the same thing with cell X3. And company, I'm going to change that. And that's good for folks that have multiple companies. You can come in and change the company code if you want. And then, so that's all I need. None of the rest of this information is of value to me as I'm creating this particular report. So I hit enter, and that gives me my current year net sales or revenue. Now, revenue, it shows the sign. So this is showing negative. So since I don't really want to show these as negative, I'm going to multiply this by -1. All the math works out fine. You don't have to worry about addition and subtraction. It's just for presentation purposes. And so the system knows that that's really a negative number. Then for budget, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, my link is my account. My current year, my current period, my budget code. So this time I have to do the budget code, and that's always going to be, again, the same X4, and then my company. So now I have a budget number, and again, I want to multiply that times -1, and then here's my variance, and then we'll do the variance percent. Again, actual year to date, I'm going to do just exactly the same thing. And since we're kind of getting close on time, I'm going to show you a sample of what we did. So here is it completed. Now this, I put in a header, I put in actual versus budget comparison, and then this is all a formula. So it says for the whatever number of months ended, the month written out, so May 31st, and then the year, 2020. And what I've been able to do here is instead of, this is exactly the same presentation that we had with our general ledger report, except that it's formatted a little bit differently. So my percentages all show, if it's 0, it's 0. I don't get those divide by zeros. I switched this around so that negative percentages have parentheses around them. All of those things that you can do inside of Excel, you can take advantage of inside of Sage Intelligence. So that is really helpful. So this is the same thing, but instead of having a 5-page report, because I did these based upon the main account, I'm down to probably about a 2-page report when I print this out. And I can see, you know, my information. So there was no added benefit to me to have all those detailed account numbers when I was really just interested in the fact that my sales were $728,000 for this particular period, and then, you know, whatever my variances were, my actuals, and year-to-date information. So I've been able to do a much better presentation, and this information, depending upon my audience, this information is probably much better than something that we might have with that 5-page report where they're scrolling through pages trying to figure out, okay, so what was the total operating expenses for the central area or department, and they're, you know, flipping to page 3 trying to figure out what that is. So much nicer, much easier presentation for us to work with. Now, the other nice thing that you can do in Sage Intelligence is you can actually add accounts together. So that's the next example that I want to show you. Is here. So this is my same information, all my main accounts. I have all my account numbers, but this time I'm doing just current month, actual percent of revenue, and year-to-date actual percent of revenue. And I've already filled in the formula, so I've already referenced, you know, my year, my period, my company. And here is where I do a little formula where I say, what is the month and date? And this also will allow for leap year. So if I was running 2020 and 02, it would be February 29th because 2020 is a leap year. So just a little trick so you don't have to worry about going back in. There is a way to programmatically do your titles so that you can accommodate leap year when it rolls around every 4 years. So what I've done is I've just kind of grouped my revenue, my cost of sales, and my expenses, and then my other revenue and expenses. And what I see in here is that I have clerical salaries that are $505, clerical salaries that are $605, and clerical salaries that are $705. And for this particular presentation, I'm not so much concerned about those particular departments as I am what is my salary number. So if I come up here and I hit F2 to edit and I say plus 605 and plus 705 and I hit enter, you can see my number changed. So now instead of having to move those up and sum them and hide the rows, I have the total salaries in one row just based upon that calculation I just went through. And then, of course, I have to remember to delete those 2 rows. So that is the housekeeping that you have to remember to do. And then I can do the same thing for sick pay. So I have 507, I have a 607. And I have a 707. Okay, so on we go. Holiday pay, vacation pay. So I would go down the list. and add these together. And as you can see, each time I do that, this number gets higher because it's adding all that information together. So I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Okay. And if you want to see what that looks like finished, then here we go. We have everything grouped together. So maybe in this presentation, I want to know total salaries and benefits. I want to know office supplies. So this might be a presentation that you're looking for, again, based upon your audience. This might be something that, that a group in your organization might be interested in. So maintenance and repairs versus departmental reporting. This gives you a look at, okay, what is my total salaries and benefits? Well, my total salaries and benefits is 16% of sales, of revenue. My gross profit percent is 50%. For the month, it's 46.1% for year-to-date when I look at as a percentage of revenue. So this might be, so all these kinds of things that you want to be able to do, I haven't come up with anything that I can't do in Sage Intelligence yet. So it's really based upon your needs. I don't want to say imagination, but it's based upon your organization's needs and what kind of information you need to present to your managers, to your board of directors, to your senior staff, that will give them information about how your business is doing. And so that's really the goal here, is not so much to make pretty reports, but to make useful reports that give people the information they need so they're not scratching their head and getting out their calculator or putting things into Excel and trying to do their own calculations on their own. As you can see, if I want to go and change the period, all I have to do is change the year, change the period. So it's just a really, really easy way of getting your financial information. And again, when I come back, if I make any changes to my template, I come back here and I save my template and I click OK. And that way, any changes that I've made will then be there the next time I run out that template. So we're going to run this out again, and we're going to hit, we got a few minutes left, we're going to hit the bonus round. Oh, I'm a little ahead of schedule. Wow. So our bonus round today is how to eliminate rows that have zeros all the way across. So if I'm looking at a 2 or 3 page report, maybe I am interested to know if things are zero, but if I'm not interested in any account that has zero, then there is a nice utility that you can run that will allow you to eliminate those zero rows. So we're going to come in here. And I'm going to go here, and I am going to unhide this stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a formula here in column G. So I'm going to say it's actual, budget, actual year-to-date, and budget year-to-date. And I'm going to change this from text to number because that would be unhelpful. Okay, and then I normally color code these in white just in case for some reason you might want to have this formula on your actually in a column that would be displayed on your spreadsheet. That way, if it's in white, nobody sees that calculation when you do your presentation. So I'm going to copy this down. to all of my rows. And then we're going to make sure that we have a 0 row. So we'll change our numbers up just a little bit so that you can see how this works. Okay, so I'm going to come back up here to this guy, insurance expense, and I'm going to change everything to 0. I'm just going to make that happen. Just so you can see how this works. So now I'm going to save my template. Again, I made a change. I have to save that template. Otherwise, all work for naught. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here and I am going to do Show Advanced down here at the bottom. And you can see in here the formula. So my formula says, this is my sheet. The sheet inside my Excel spreadsheet or my template was sample 1. The column I'm going to check is G. The value to check is 0. So I'm going to check if any of those formulas tie to 0 is an exact match required. Yes. Otherwise, if you had a $5,000 amount, it would say, oh, that's 0. I better hide that row. Remove the rows rather than hide. No, because you don't want to get rid of them. And then most of the rest, you just take the defaults. So the important things are the sheet, the column, make sure you have a 0, exact match yes, remove rows no. I click OK. Now when I run this again, it'll take just a minute. But you will see it's going to go through the process of going through each one of those rows to determine if they are 0. So it ran that plug-in, and if all is good, I don't have that insurance expense. That row is hidden, and it looks like I have. So if I come back in here, it says between row 64 and row 66, row 65 is hidden because I changed those numbers to 0. So that's an option for you as well. When you're doing your presentation, you can hide those 0 rows if they're not of value to you. And then I also, since I have a minute left, I wanted to show you this formula that I use so that I don't get those, hash divide by 0 errors when I'm doing my variance percent. So again, that formula, and it's also in the handout, so please take a look at the handout when you get it. If error, and then I do my calculation. So I round the variance divided by the budget, and then I take it to 3 decimal places. And then if it's an error, then I say I want spaces. So I don't default to 0. If you want to default to 0, you could certainly do that. You could say if it's an error, just make it 0. So that is a personal preference. However you like to see that, however that works best within your organization. And then also, normally when you do percentages, you get the minus sign instead of the parentheses. And you will see that I have this custom. So if I come in here, I have actually a custom formula which says that it's either with or without. If it's if it's a positive number, there's no parentheses, but if it's a negative number, then you see parentheses instead of the minus sign. So that's another little trick for you to use. I don't think that's in the handout, but if you have any questions about that and need information, please feel free to contact me. I hope that this has been valuable information for you. I don't see any questions, Sue. I think we're...
No, you're correct. I don't have any questions in our box, and I wanted to thank you, Suzanne, for doing this great webinar on Sage Intelligence. As usual for me, my eyes kind of bulge out of the head when I'm trying to look at this, and that's why Suzanne is our expert on it and has done, assisted and designed many, many financials for people. I wanted everyone to keep in mind our next Tech Tuesday is going to be entitled, Did You Know? We are very excited, and you all know how excited I get about this kind of stuff. A lot of little tips and tricks that people don't know or forgot or never knew. So we're looking forward to having that for the next Tech Tuesday. Try to say that. And we hope you all enjoyed today, and I'm not going to say the Tech Tuesday again, okay? Everybody have a good day, and thank you for coming, and we will be sending out the information to you shortly. And hopefully this helped and gave you a good idea of how to do your financials in Sage Intelligence. Y'all enjoy and have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.